Well, it is time. It is time that all the Phillies fans have waited for, because I know they're all excited. They're all huge fans of this guy. I'm a huge fan of this guy. It's the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman, coming to us live from Chase Field. Jesse, what a night for this Arizona Diamondbacks team. They hold this Phillies team to just one run. They pull off the exciting walk-off victory. What are the vibes like at Chase Field?
I guess the vibes would be immaculate, right? I mean,
he said the thing from the
there's
thing.
a time to use that phrase. I guess this would be it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there were a few questions asked after this one about, the Diamondbacks being counted out by a lot of people after going down 2-0. And, Geraldo Perdomo said, hey, even when we're up in these series, people are still doubting that we're going to be able to actually come through and win.
Sure.
I imagine that was maybe in reference to the Dodgers series more than anything else, where even if, the D-backs win the first game, people are by and large still expecting the Dodgers to come away with that series. Even with the Diamondbacks up 2-0, I think there were some people that were not at all ready to lock that series in for the Diamondbacks, just given how good the Dodgers are. But yeah, I mean, the D-backs, it was sort of a game of inches in a lot of ways. You feel like if a few things go the Diamondbacks' way, maybe this is a more comfortable win for them. There were a lot of little things that didn't go their way.
Very true.
The wild pitch, of course, is the way that the Phillies scored their run. Ryan Thompson dialed up a really big double play with 2 on and nobody out. You've got a runner at third, 2 outs then, and then, Thompson strikes out JT Realmuto. But before he does that, he corks a wild pitch, and that gets the Phillies on the board with their first run. There were also multiple doubles in this game by Diamondbacks hitters that would have been home runs in basically any other ballpark except for this one. Gabby Moreno had a double that would have been a home run. I think in 26 out of 30 ballparks. Ketel Marte had a double late in this game. I believe that was the 6th inning. That would have been a home run in the majority of ballparks. We all know what Chase Field does to, potential home run balls to straightaway center field. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. But I mean, the Diamondbacks were still able to find a way to come out and win this game, even though some of those things didn't go their way. And Ketel Marte, it just seemed fitting that it came down to him. He's really been the one guy in this lineup who's his consistently, and he came through in the biggest spot of the game.
One of the things that we haven't discussed exactly, and I'm curious what your vantage point was like from the press box and sensing the energy in the ballpark, was in that bottom of the 9th, Geraldo Perdomo, I believe he got behind 0-2. He was definitely behind in the count, was able to battle, draws a walk, kind of gestures to his double play partner, Ketel Marte, to say, hey, I'm passing the baton to you. It's your turn. And he goes up and he absolutely gets it done. What did you see there in the 9th during that at bat for Perdomo?
Yeah, it was a huge at bat, and I mean that's what Geraldo Perdomo has sort of made a living doing this season, right? Is drawing walks in big spots, finding ways to get on base,
right, even
if there's not necessarily a whole lot of slug there. And I mean, we did ask him about that at bat. He said his approach was kind of the same that it always is, even though he knew that Ketel Marte was on deck. He's just trying to get on base. But it was a really pivotal at bat in this game because I mean it was prior to him, Emmanuel Rivera hit that ground ball. Lourdes Gurriel's cut down at the plate. You're looking at, instead of second and third, nobody out, all of a sudden it's first and second, 1 out, which is not nearly as favorable of a situation. And Perdomo just finding a way to get on base there was really huge. And, Ketel Marte did what Ketel Marte has been doing consistently throughout for the Diamondbacks throughout the postseason, which is, come through in situations where maybe some of the other guys in this lineup are struggling.
Jesse, we discussed obviously that the Diamondbacks can't expect to score just 2 runs and beat this Phillies team very many times. I mean, and we also discussed that close games seems like the only way that it's really going to happen. But I mean, what can you say about what Ketel's done? Because we know the rest of the offense has kind of been sporadic or non-existent at all. But Ketel continues to bring it, and obviously tonight he had the huge hit. He had a big night, and he just has been the guy doing it for this team all postseason long.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Diamondbacks have 16 hits in this series so far, and 6 of them are by Ketel. So, almost half are by Ketel.
Yeah.
That's not something you want to continue moving forward. At some point, the D-backs aren't going to win 4 of these unless some of those other guys are able to find their way and get hot. But, yeah, I mean, this has been a huge season for Ketel Marte. Last year, he was not this player, right? I mean, last year, Ketel Marte had an OPS right around 700. He was basically a league average hitter. And this season, I think the biggest difference has been that he's become a very, very good hitter facing righties again. Last year, it was sort of he's one of the best hitters in the game against lefties, but against a righty, he's really not all that great. And this year, he's gotten back to the version of Ketel that we saw in 2019, the version of Ketel that we saw in 2021, where he's doing damage from both sides. And you saw that in this game as well, right? Of his 3 hits, I believe the 2 doubles in this game were against lefties. And then that single that won the game for the Diamondbacks, that was against a very good righty in Craig Kimbrell. So, he's able to do it from both sides. And that has tons of value because there's just no way to really counter him, right? It doesn't really matter who the Phillies put in the game. Ketel Marte is going to be, he's gonna be a well above average hitter no matter who he's facing.
Well, Cool Chris isn't wrong. He said walk him. And honestly, with the way this offense is performing lately, I mean, I noticed that they took that approach with some of the dangerous Phillies hitters at times. You had they walked Bryce Harper in a very obvious kind of pitch around situation, right?
Yeah,
but,
4 pitches. Yeah.
I mean, when you look at what they did, they had a game plan. That's what they've talked about Paul Sewald doing that, right? They've talked about that's the experience that someone like Paul Sewald brings to, a team like this, is that Sewald knows he's not going to mess with a hitter like Bryce Harper. He's going to pass on him and go for the better matchup with the next guy that he's going to face. And man, it's worked out so well. But again, we talked a lot about Brandon Pfaadt and his night. I know this guy's a big fan of Brandon Pfaadt's night.
Jesse, I hope you like cheesesteaks, baby.
We're sending. He's already making flight plans for you to go back to Philadelphia, by the way. Wow. So I hope you like that holiday.
Yeah, well, the D-backs still have a lot of work to do, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
In order to get it back to Philly, they do still have to win one of these next 2 games. We did just find out that Joe Mantiply is starting tomorrow. I don't know if you guys have covered that at all.
We did right before you jumped on.
That'll be interesting. I mean, it's basically going to be a full-on bullpen game. I imagine. I mean, maybe they're looking to get a few innings out of a Slade Ciccone or someone like that. But Ciccone and Nelson both pitched just the other day.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just don't know if those are guys the Diamondbacks really feel they can count on in this kind of a situation. So it might be sort of an all hands on deck. I think every reliever that the Diamondbacks use today should be available tomorrow as well. No one, I think Sewald threw 21 pitches, but outside of that, it was a pretty reasonable number for all those guys. So you'll probably see the D-backs be pretty aggressive in Game 4. But it's still tough because, I mean, Game 5 is the very next day. There are no off days between any of these games here in Arizona. So I think it's important to note that winning this game in 9 innings was huge for the Diamondbacks. They would have had some arms available to them. Like they could have gone to Miguel Castro.
That's a great point.
Or Joe Mantiply or whomever in extra innings. But not only are those guys, generally more low leverage arms, but the D-backs need some coverage for tomorrow. Like they need some way to get through the game tomorrow. And getting out of here in 9 innings was huge.
Brandon Pfaadt, though, like we said, joined an elite club of Diamondbacks pitchers, and when you start talking about him sharing the same space as Randy Johnson, Curt Schilling, and Brandon Webb, doing things that only the most elite pitchers in Diamondbacks history have ever done, even when the Diamondbacks right now currently have 2 guys that we consider to be fairly elite as part of their starting rotation, it's a very special feeling, especially when that guy is a young player in his rookie season with his entire career ahead of him and lots of years still here in Arizona to enjoy watching him pitch.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, like I know Ketel got the big hit and had a few hits in this game, but the hero of this game for the Diamondbacks in my mind is Brandon Pfaadt. I mean, he came out and 5 2/3 scoreless innings against a very good Phillies lineup, the best hitting lineup on the planet, a lineup that is at least right now, right?
Yeah.
A lineup that has put up some insane numbers so far in the postseason. Just scored 10 runs against the Diamondbacks the other night. Brandon Pfaadt came in and was dominant. I mean, this was not 5 2/3 innings with 3 strikeouts and some pop ups and ground balls. This was 5 2/3 with 9 strikeouts and I think it was 17 swing and misses, if I'm not mistaken, which is a
Correct.
crazy number for Brandon Pfaadt. A lot of it came on his fastballs too. That was a big question, during the season when Pfaadt was going through some of his struggles, is does he really have a fastball that can really get major league hitters to swing and miss? Because that sweeper was good, but he's going to need some swing and miss from something else at some point. And it was just whiff after whiff on four-seamers that were in the zone, that were elevated, sinkers that were well located off the outside corner to lefties. He was just dialed in all the way around. I think this is the best I've ever seen him, and it obviously came in a huge spot for the Diamondbacks.
We were just reminiscing about that late-night phone call he received from Brent Strom to concoct a master plan to move him to the other side of the rubber and to send him all sorts of diagrams about it. But most importantly, to tell him at that point when he was down in AAA during the All-Star break at his parents' home in Kentucky that this team was going to need him in the postseason. And that prediction, well, it wasn't a prediction. It was a spoiler is what it was for the future. And that's exactly what we saw. It's like one of those things where Brent Strom sees a lot of talent. He has a lot of experience. He is the pitching god at times. But Brent Strom knows how special Brandon Pfaadt is. And sometimes you have to gas guys up. Sometimes you got to say things to get their confidence going. But to tell a young man that's been sent up and down a few times over the course of the season and who is currently in AAA that you just thought of this random wild idea in the middle of the night that you think is going to help him and that you need him because this team needs him in the postseason. It's got to be pretty fulfilling to have that prophecy come true and for both of those guys to remember that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just this outing for Brandon Pfaadt, right? I mean, Game 3 of the NLDS against the Dodgers, I know the leash was really short there as well. 4 1/3 innings on 42 pitches in that game. It's incredible. I mean, the efficiency that he's done this with is remarkable.
First pitcher in MLB history to give up 0 earned runs and 0 walks in consecutive outings in the postseason. Like in MLB history. I mean, again, like you said, short leash. A lot of guys are probably going a bit longer, so they have a better chance to get dinged up there in the 6th inning and in the 7th inning because that's usually when that happens in close ball games. But the way that they've protected Brandon Pfaadt so far has seemed like the right move. It's given him a lot of confidence. It's allowed him to be this pitcher. And the bullpen has been phenomenal. I mean, they faltered definitely in Game 2, but so did everybody on this team. So you could throw the blame all the way around with that one. But tonight, they locked it down. Ryan Thompson made a mistake with that wild pitch. And outside of that, everybody seemed to be able to do their job and keep this Phillies team off the board and earn this win together as a team.
Yeah, it was funny. Torey Lovello, in his post-game presser, he was in the interview room, and he talked about, trying to figure out if the Diamondbacks wanted to keep Brandon Pfaadt in this game. Coming in, the expectation, once again, at least what they were telling us, was 18 batters plus or minus 4. And so he faced his 18 batters, right? Kyle Schwarber was coming up. And if ever there was a time to go on the plus side of the plus or minus 4, it seemed like this had to be it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Brandon Pfaadt was outstanding, and it was outstanding in those first 18 hitters he threw. And Torey talked about having a conversation with Jeff Bannister, with Brent Strom, basically asking them, am I an idiot for taking out Brandon Pfaadt? With 5 2/3, 9 strikeouts, am I an idiot for doing this? And he didn't really say what they said, but that is the decision.
Danny did one of these.
No comment.
That is the decision that Torey ultimately made. And I don't know if you guys mentioned this. I tweeted out earlier. Tommy Pham, when I asked him after the game about how he felt about Brandon Pfaadt's outing, he went out of his way to tell us that Brandon Pfaadt should not have come out of this game. He said, Brandon, we had all the momentum on our side, and I think Brandon Pfaadt should have stayed in this game. And you could certainly see where he's coming from, and I know a lot of fans certainly feel the same way. But it ended well for the Diamondbacks, and from Brandon Pfaadt's perspective, he has a lot of confidence in this bullpen, and you can certainly understand why, and it worked out for the Diamondbacks.
Tommy, you got to be careful, Tommy, with your words. Just call Brandon Pfaadt a dog. And move on. Don't be questioning your manager here. Easy, Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy Pham had a big hit tonight, but he still hasn't done enough in the postseason to be questioning Torey. But Jesse, obviously Game 4, very important for this team. like you said, in order for them to get back to Philly, they're going to need to win both of these games. So, what's a big part of this bullpen game and what they're going to be able to put together? Like, who can they go to? Is this going to be like a 1-inning thing for each guy? Do you think they'll be able to get a length out of anybody? Like Joe Mantiply being the starter definitely doesn't feel like he's going to go very long.
Yeah, I mean, you would think Mantiply being a lefty, you want him to face Harper, you want him to face Schwarber. I don't know if you want him to face Real Muto or Castellanos or any of the guys after those. So it really could be a situation where Mantiply faces the first 3 hitters, and then if Alec Boehm is hitting fourth again, you might go to a righty at that point. And yeah, I don't know what kind of role, Ciccone or Ryan Nelson are going to play in this game, if there's going to be sort of a length guy. But like I said earlier, I mean, you figure it's going to be all hands on deck with pretty much all of the guys who pitched in the game today theoretically being available again tomorrow.
You got anything else for him?
Yeah, just so you know, when Saturday night Game 5 gets over, Diamondbacks still need to win one more game to push this thing out to Game 6 in Philadelphia. Your Greyhound leaves the station at 1:30 a.m. So I'll drop you off.
Patrick's wife is furious with me that we keep hanging on to him. She keeps calling me asking when he's going to come home. Jesse, I just keep ignoring the phone call. I actually blocked her today just so that she would stop asking when Patrick's going to come home. I don't know when the yachts are going to end. Who knows? It's a magical time of the year. We don't get to experience it much. God damn it. Get out to the ballpark tomorrow. Do what you guys did today. Support this team. Get out there tomorrow. Get out there Saturday. Let's get some more wins. Let's keep this home field advantage rolling. Let's get 3 wins. Let's take it back to Philly, and let's win the goddamn thing in Philadelphia in front of their fans. Let's jump in their pool. Oh, yeah, they don't have one.
Can ring their bell?
Franchise without a pool. We'll ring the bell.
Yes.
Oh, you don't have a pool? Sorry. You don't get to celebrate in your own pool. But, Jesse, we appreciate you. We think you should go just jump in the pool real fast just to cool off. You're not saying Wooder now, are you?
Wooder?
I'm not, no, and I'm kind of disappointed because when I was in Philly, I mean, I talked with a number of people who are like native Philadelphians. I never once heard anyone say Wooder, which feels like a really massive missed opportunity.
Yeah,
but,
that's upsetting.
I might be heading back there in a few days. So
you might be.
See if we can make it right.
Keep your bag packed. Don't unpack your bag.